So yeah, like I said, we have 9 minutes remaining for discussion. And so, Tom, if you're still on, I'd like to call you back to answer some of the questions that we didn't have a chance to get to in the chat. And I'm going to scroll back and see if I can find them. Alternatively, I invite whoever asked that question to just come on and ask it. Okay, I found it. It says, why don't we see abundant mass wasting features on slopes from these quakes if they are this strong?
It is a good question, and I haven't. I think that came from Jim Rice, and Jim may be in the best position if he's really studied that the Gerlach 2 rim location more carefully than I have from the imaging. But I mean, I think there are areas where I have seen granular flow, if you could think of it in less than a landslide, perhaps just creep, even along the scarp face of this 4 kilometer long scarp. So yeah, I would like to, I'm waiting patiently to see more coverage from shadow cam to really get an idea if Shackleton, those walls are as unstable as the model is predicting them to be. Um, but it's a good question.
So would there be other means of seeing that? If it,
Thought Gareth's the L band really seems to be showing how blocky that scarp face is, and this is another point again I'll make for just um, these scarps as points of interest or targets of opportunity. That if you are looking for boulders or to sample boulders, it's not a bad place to go. There are, even in the LROC images, there are pretty clear examples of boulders kind of strewn along this scarp face, which is not uncommon at all for these lobate scarps.
go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, there's another, just to add to that discussion, there's a couple of papers by Senthil Kumar on similar kinds of things where he's looked at essentially relatively recent
Mm-hmm.
wrinkle ridges and boulder tracks, significant boulder tracks, clearly the age of a boulder track and the tracks itself, is limited, the boulder and the track. So he's tried to estimate what the timing on that is too, and points out that this could be a significant thing to think about when building stuff in the South Circumpolar region too. Thanks.
Yes, and again, I hope that simulation didn't scare anyone, because it's not the idea certainly to make people or NASA concerned about that site as a hazardous area. I mean, I think that the truth is that if these faults are as young as we think they are and they are still active, that it's just something that we're going to have to keep in mind. Just
Yeah,
to, as we're designing these outposts.
so can you comment on another question that I got off of the WebEx? It says, have we seen any movement on scarps during LRO? And then, what would the implication be for Artemis with scarps in the region?
Yeah, we have not yet. We are looking. We are definitely looking in a temporal imaging campaign. I mean, we have seen landslides, and some of those may remember the talk I gave at last year's LPSC, which we're still finding for evidence of landslides that are in craters that are in close proximity to some of these lobate scarps. I mean, I think if again, I think the case that I am modeling here is an extreme case because again, it's unlikely that you've got 60 or 80 meters of structural relief from one slip event that formed the Gerlach scarp, but the idea that you probably have multiple slip events that accumulate or cumulative to form that feature is something that you should really prepare again and be ready for
Yep. Okay, another question in the chat. How many candidate epicenters have been proposed for the M9 event? I saw several on the map. What is the probability that the Daggerlash region was the source?
That's a really good question.
Do you want me to answer that one?
Renee, would you mind answering that one as a co-author?
Yeah, so the candidate epicenters is actually kind of a good way to think about it. It wasn't necessarily like a traditional earthquake location where you have the best fit location and then you have like some kind of confidence region around that. It was more based on a falsified or not falsified candidate site. So that cloud of points that surrounds the feature they're all sort of equally likely or equally possible. And so you can't really, I don't think a probability can be assigned in that way, the same way that earthquake locations are.
Sure, glad you answered that question.
And a plug for a lunar geophysical network, which obviously I could not agree with more.